Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Europe and Central Asia regional session of the Global Manufacturing and Industrialization Summit 2020, held under the topic Industrial Recovery in Europe and Central Asia, Accelerating the Digital Transformation for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. My name is Jacek Cukrowski. I am Chief of the UNIDO Regional Coordination Division for Europe and Central Asia, and I am very pleased to be a moderator of today's session. We are very glad to have with us today some very prominent and highly experienced speakers. I'm sure that your diverse expertise will help make this discussion both relevant and impactful. Today, we will talk about the challenges micro, small and medium enterprises face due to the global COVID-19 crisis, as well as the emerging opportunities for their sustainable recovery and enhanced resilience. I'm looking forward to hearing your opinions and practical recommendations on how we can efficiently support micro, small and medium enterprises during these challenging times and rebuild the economic systems in an efficient and sustainable manner. Please allow me to briefly introduce our distinguished speakers. I welcome Ms. Naira Margaryan, Deputy Minister of Economy of the Republic of Armenia, who has a recognized international expertise in the field of small businesses, with experience providing consulting and training services to entrepreneurs in her capacity as a trainer for the EBRD's Women and Business Program. Ms. Margaryan, your knowledge and experience will be a great asset to today's discussion. We also have with us Mr. Taras Kachka, Deputy Minister for Development of Economy, Trade and Agriculture of Ukraine. Mr. Kachka coordinates multilateral and bilateral trade relations and Ukraine's integration to the global economy, as well as economic and social cooperation with the European Union. Mr. Kachka, we are looking forward to hearing your views on the topic of our session. I also would like to introduce Ms. Milena Angelova, Vice President of the European Economic and Social Committee, in charge of budget for the mandate of 2018-2020, and the Secretary General of the Bulgarian Industrial Capital Association. Ms. Angelova has been an active supporter of the business community and an expert in corporate social responsibility. I am confident that we will have a valuable input from you today, Ms. Angelova. Finally, I would like to welcome Ms. Maja Tomanic-Vidovic, Director of the Slovenian Enterprise Fund, who is also a member of various expert groups of support for entrepreneurship in Slovenia and across Europe. Ms. Tomanic-Vidovic has excellent experience in strategic measures for accelerating the development of young, innovative companies with high growth potential. Ms. Tomanic-Vidovic, I am sure your inputs will be a great contribution to our discussion. Now, kicking off our session, I would like to address Mr. Kachka. From your experience in socio-economic and trade relations on a regional and global level, how did the COVID-19 crisis affect the integration of micro, small and medium enterprises in the regional, global economic processes, markets and value chains?
Thank you for invitation to this event for Ukraine. It is extremely important to talk about the experience of small and medium enterprises because they are the drivers of economic growth and economic transformation as well. And I think that the news from Ukraine are trivial because the experience is more or less the same in Ukraine and other neighboring states and in the region in general. So the of course, the biggest, so that we have two biggest challenges for small and medium enterprises. One is, let's say, deliberate lockdown of economy in spring of 2020, and the subsequent conservative approach of consumers towards purchasing or consuming services of small and medium enterprises. So the first big lesson for small and medium enterprise was, and still quite active, is finding a proper balance between lockdown measures and economic activities, because initial reaction of Ukrainian government was extremely good for public health reason and extremely tough for business environment, so that we choose quite severe measures of lockdown, and it was like rapid shock for small and medium enterprises. First of all, the physical access to business offices, to places where businesses is provided because of shutdown of public transport and limits to travel. The second, physical business network is so the business big part of business activity for small and medium enterprises is organized on the classical markets, and they have been closed due to sanitary reasons, and it destroyed some for short period, but destroyed quite severely the distribution system, especially for small producers, and it was a big challenge for small and medium enterprises. Fortunately, we managed to not to close our borders. There was a challenge for all of us in March. With all neighboring states, there was a risk that closure of borders for crossing for natural persons, for people, will also extend to the drivers, to movement of goods, and but we successfully managed in our domestic discussion the quite, let's say, rational approach that the movement of goods will not be blocked, and as well in coordination with our neighboring states, we managed not to block our borders and cross-border points. The only negative lesson was connected with Turkey, where for quite a long period of time, for several weeks, there was a quite severe sanitary requirements for drivers of vehicles, and there was some kind of block of transportation of Ukrainian goods via territory of Ukraine, but we managed to resolve this problem as well. So it was a big lesson for all of us in spring, and now I think that everyone is conscious that we need to strike better balance between public health reasons and economic activity. And now, when we face a new wave of pandemia, I think that government and business community is well conscious about what is necessary to block and to lock down, and what is not. The next big thing was related to maintenance of businesses, and here we tried to provide small and medium enterprises a possibility to retain people with, let's say, so-called partial unemployment, when government compensated a part of salary, 50% of salary, to people who were, let's say, de facto unemployed due to lockdown, but not legally unemployed, because in addition to formal unemployment benefits, we also provided a possibility for businesses to share the burden of paying salary to workers, and several hundreds people used this program, and it helped quite a lot. Unfortunately, the demand is higher, definitely, but in any case, it was a good relief for for small and medium enterprises in terms of retaining people and maintaining the possibility for good operation. So currently we are facing two big, let's say, challenges. One is the challenge of new wave of coronavirus. The number of cases is rising in Ukraine, and we once again have a big debate, public debate about what should be closed and what should be open and how the sanitary measures should apply. Of course, business is advocating for, let's say, more burden on consumers, that they wear masks and they're being accurate, keeping social distance, and they advocate for not shutting down the small and medium companies like Horeca, like shops and everything else. And I hope that this time we will use the lessons learned from spring for better, and business will have more opportunities to maintain their operation. The next big challenge is access to finances, because Ukraine, so that this is something unique for Ukraine. Unfortunately, we have no possibility for this helicopter money or just the disbursement of a lot of money to small and medium enterprises in terms of grants, because of quite severe monetary policy and macroeconomic policy as a result of previous banking sector crisis of 2014. We managed to live through the banking crisis and macroeconomic crisis by applying quite tough monetary policy, and we have a necessity to maintain this policy. That's why we are trying to balance public finances, discipline, and access to finances. And the method we used is compensation of interest rates for credits issued by banks. We call it program 579, so that the interest rates applied in Ukraine, so that they are quite high in comparison with the European Union, but nevertheless low for our internal domestic situation. So we managed to issue more than, so almost 2,500 credits for small and medium enterprises for a sum of 5.5 billion hryvnias. And the majority of these credits have been dedicated to micro businesses, to those businesses who usually do not even address the formal banking system to receive credits. Therefore, this is like a, let's say, additional positive effect, because we involve small and medium enterprises into classical formal economy. So this is like in a precise manner the lessons learned by Ukraine and the challenges we have in overcoming COVID-19 crisis by small and medium enterprises. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kachkin. We can see that micro, small and medium enterprises indeed face some extraordinary challenges due to the current crisis, and governmental support is of fundamental importance in ensuring sustainable recovery and resilience, especially when it comes to small businesses. Now, considering the future transformation of the social and economic landscape as a result of the pandemic, I would like to hear the opinion of Ms. Margarian on its implication for women and youth-led businesses. Ms. Margarian, can the recovery process embody a transformative platform for the inclusion of women and young people in the manufacturing sector?
So yes, youth and women have been our radar for a while now, but the pandemic and its consequences would indeed alter the structure of workforce and business. The question is how? As we go through the statistic data now, I'm afraid it's too soon to announce final understanding of the changes. And as any change, this one can also bring favorable transformations. If we look at the structure of employment in manufacturing, women and youth are fairly widely employed in the sector. But if we look from the entrepreneurial perspective, of course, the majority comes to experienced men. There are a number of reasons for that. Manufacturing requires resources. That's a challenge for youth, and women are mainly less up to risk taking. So they are mostly engaged in retail services, industry, and hospitality. But as you said, we try to take an opportunity and have heavy interventions currently to boost employment, to boost entrepreneurship, to boost appearance of new businesses in the market. We try to build the capacity of youth, women, and everyone willing to give a chance to entrepreneurship. And to our surprise, the majority of our applicants are actually youth. We do not have still fairly good picture of women participation. That's why our next intervention was to offer more favorable conditions for women rather than men, trying to build a business. And here, for example, we provide loans that are 2% cheaper for women than for men. But in terms of industries, we were also very happy to see that manufacturing, of course, small manufacturing, was one of the biggest portion of our applicants that wanted to go into manufacturing and not service industry. I also think that's because service industry, hospitality industry has suffered a lot now, and people see that there is more opportunity, for example, in agriculture and production and manufacturing. That's probably why they really want to go into these businesses. And we encourage that. In fact, for example, we do not provide any support to businesses that are just engaged in trade, in retail. We do need it to be more value-added industry. So yes, so I think that, of course, this structural changes will bring new opportunities to both youth and women, for sure.
Thank you, Ms. Margarian. Surely, the transformation this crisis brings cannot be sustainable without ensuring inclusive solutions. In UNIDO, we also strive to make a contribution to the mainstreaming of the economic empowerment of women and youth, especially in the aftermath of the crisis. Following up on the topic of cross-border cooperation, Ms. Angelova, how do you think we can formulate national and regional responses measures with due consideration to interests of the business community and young and innovative micro, small and medium enterprises in particular?
First of all, I'm very happy to be part of this topical debate and to brainstorm together with you how to help the micro and small and medium enterprises to thrive during these difficult and challenging conditions. I find also the topic of the summit, localization, very interesting, as it underlines further the local perspective and the importance of it, which was illustrated by the COVID crisis, where the local dimension was really very much important for recovering under the crisis. We will be facing this difficult situation for at least one more year, where these fragmented responses at local level only can be successful if they are got together into a network, and this network should spread across Europe and Asia in order to help gaining recovery. What the European Union is doing currently is really front-loading and expanding its political program in order to provide immediate response to the crisis. Especially for the micro and SMEs, the European Union started last March a very ambitious strategy aimed at promoting SMEs and micro businesses. This strategy was updated and it was further developed in order immediately to provide response for all the challenges that COVID crisis also brought on the table so unexpectedly. what we can see is that the main challenge is to prevent any loss of industrial production and this to be becoming permanent. This may be done by mapping out the impact of COVID crisis on individual sectors and value chains and address their specific needs in order to restore production and employment. Then also we need to build and rebuild integrated industrial value chains and to reshore them, as the crisis really illustrated how important is also to rely not only to import but to local and to European sources. In order to provide this ambitious plan of financial resources, the European Union releases the European Union Recovery Plan, which is unprecedented and very ambitious financial instrument, which is targeted in giving boost to the new European strategy through doubling down the InvestEU, the new instrument of strategic investment facility, and the new solvency support. This will provide a real European answer to the crisis and also is based on substantial increase of the resources of the Just Transition Fund. What can be done, especially for the micro and small companies, is that really focused and targeted measures are in place mainly in the financial area, where the immediate liquidity support is vital, as well as boosting the digitalization of the SMEs. In order to do this, for example, for the digitalization, it's necessary to also provide capacity building and technical support for SMEs when it comes to boosting their digitalization. Of course, the current crisis gave rise to digital technologies and their uptake by the companies, but there are a lot of challenges also to be addressed, and to that regard, the Commission is planning to establish digital innovation hubs, which will help on place to the SMEs to face these challenges. Of course, also it's vital the free movement of data is ensured, as well as the broadband network in European Union, since this is the cornerstone of the digitalization. When it comes to the financial support, we, the Economic and Social Committee, we suggest that a network of financial ombudsmen is established across Europe, so that the micro businesses, and especially those who are very vulnerable and not aware how they can obtain financial resources, to have immediate focal point in order to be helped to navigate through the complex bank ecosystem and to get right support in financial terms. Of course, we are not happy that the main source of financing across Europe are still the credits. So therefore, we still a lot of room for improvement in terms of funding sources by promoting equity financing and use of SME growth markets, and by finding alternative listing options for them, which is also underpinned in the new EU SME strategy. Specific measures are needed to educate further the managers for the benefit of alternative financial sources, as well as to encourage public funded and IPOs across SMEs. Just two more points. One is regarding the digital skills, which are more vital and they are turned to be horizontal. So we expect for the new programming period, the European Union really to invest a lot in digital skills, and we would like to encourage the member states also to put a lot of efforts to that regard. And skills in general, which are necessary really to be reshaped and upskilled in order to face the challenges of fourth revolution. And then also we have some special groups which deserve more attention. One of them being women, where we see needs for support of women in order to get a better life-work balance. And the crisis showed that they are at the front line of really coping with the COVID outreach and its implication over family and over business. And equally important is the targeted support measures for the young people who are now a bit lost because their education and career is interrupted. And of course, although many schools and universities shifted to online platforms, it cannot really amend the immediate contact. So you can see that the European Union is taking care for the whole wide range of support measures, starting from the very ambitious financial support at European level, and then underpinning how this financial support should be channeled through SMEs and answer to their targeted needs. Just one last word. I would like to stress and underline here the importance of the SME organizations, who are the intermediaries, and the constant support for the SMEs in order to get the full information and to be able to make the right decisions in this difficult period. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Angelova. With micro, small and medium enterprises being a backbone of the regional economy, their resilience is key to a better global recovery and adaptation. Strengthening the capacities of such companies with the focus on digitalization could clearly bring tangible results in the long run. Now, let us perhaps look into the financial difficulties faced by micro, small and medium enterprises during and after the pandemic. Ms. Tamara Dźwidowicz, as an expert in the management of financial incentives, how could we improve the financial stability and access to investment among micro, small and medium enterprises after the crisis?
Enterprise Fund to all of you who is with us today, and it's my pleasure to be able to cooperate at today's very topic discussion. Yes, since March 2020, we all had to adapt to new conditions due to consequences of COVID-19, and micro, small and medium-sized companies are definitely even more vulnerable than other stronger and bigger entities. But besides all consequences, the COVID has also shown how important digitalization has become for our economies and for our society. To sustain our economies and to sustain our businesses. So also micro and small companies had to adapt to the social distancing measures by changing the way they interact and do business. A wide array of new IT solutions and tools had to be rolled out. Video conferences and online shopping have become a norm. So they really need some support to realize all this adaptation they had to do, and to improve the financial stability and access to investment among especially micro and small companies after the crisis. It is important for all of us, for the government and for support institutions in the future, also to create an enabling environment in post-recovery time, focus also on all comprehensive support, which will accelerate development and also digital activities in these companies, because they also need digital transformation, such as many other bigger entities. Our colleagues from Silicon Valley, from the Center of New Technologies, sent us common inevitable direction for the future, that we have to learn thriving in the storm, but we have to, together with the companies, to keep innovating in this era of disruption. It is not important only to survive, but to come out stronger. So nothing will be the same anymore. So companies have to go further. They have to make another step. So what is important for recovery time? Investments have to go on, despite the fact that the risks are higher than ever before. Costs are increasing, but the uptake in companies, especially in micro and small companies, which lack capacity and resources, both on financial and on the skill side, this remains a big challenge for all of us. But what is also crucial, only financial sources will not be enough. We also have to create some support focus on knowledge, skills, research and networking, cooperation with all other institutes, and connect all this ecosystem in one very active support environment. So also Slovene Enterprise Fund, as a public financial fund, we created very quickly after the COVID-19 emerged, some evaluation financial measures to help our companies. We combine debt, equity, and grants financial instruments with more favorable conditions to reduce this higher operational costs and to reduce also this risk. And we try to combine this support also with some other financial partners, what was already mentioned today, such as banks, venture funds, business angels, and others. It's not easy now after the pandemic emerged, but we try to go on with all this partnership because it's really necessary to combine the financial resources. So what we offer to our companies, we offer them some COVID credits almost without interest rate and absolutely zero costs because we are public and we use also the European Commission funds and we can afford it. For larger investments, we offered our micro and small companies guarantees for easier insurance of bank loans. So we do this together with the partnership with the banks. We also subsidize interest rates. Together with the Ministry for the Economy, we created special program. This is really grant program, but we try to involve also some banks resources into this program. This is the program for digital transformation of micro and small companies based on needed investments in use of digital technology in the supply or sales chain. And of course, it's not only the investment program, but also the program how to raise the knowledge and digital skills of employees. These companies expressed very clearly to us that they might invest in digital transformation, but that still they will be faced with the skill gaps. Therefore, we also created special voucher scheme for them, really with the aim to encourage this first introducing actions for digitalization in these micro companies. So this voucher, for example, for preparing a digital strategy, digital marketing, or for raising digital competencies of the employees, through this approved voucher, the enterprise can hire external experts for digitalization, and 60% of costs of these services are reimbursed with approved voucher. So this is really individual support for our companies. But I believe that all environment and strategic orientation of government and society and all other research and support institutions should be focused on development transformation of our companies. So it's not only enough to have some individual measures. So, for example, in Slovenia, we are implementing the Digital 2020 strategy, some other innovation strategy of Slovenia, and smart specialization strategies. So all these capacity building activities are also focused on our companies and some support through the digital innovation hubs to connect user and providers of digital innovations, through some strategic research and innovation partnerships, which are the connection of business subjects, educational and research institutions, for example, some fab labs, fabrication laboratories, the platforms for learning, intergenerational integration, creativity, and support of our young companies and also these very small micro companies. So comprehensive ecosystem is crucial to work together and to reach synergy and to be fast, united with all partners in ecosystem is the right formula for the future success and for the financial stability also of our micro and small companies.
Thank you very much. It is great to hear that there are many tools that can be applied to ensure a better financial stability of micro, small and medium enterprises. Now I would like to get back to Mr. Kaczka. We have learned that small companies are challenged to improve their investment attractiveness. In your opinion, what development strategies should micro, small and medium enterprises adopt to better integrate into the international and regional value chains, improving their investment attractiveness and growth potential?
I think that the starting point for this question is something what I mentioned in my previous statement. This is about the access to the supply chain and distribution networks. And I think that here we have twofold, or we'll say several elements of strategy, how to be successful in these distribution networks, market access, and supply chain. First of all, and what we are doing here in Ukraine, first of all, is increasing skills for let's say presenting or let's say business activity for an international domain, because Ukrainian economy as an open economy is extremely internationalized. We have a lot of supermarket chains, big structural distributors who are internationally owned, and they apply international business practices. Therefore, we are trying to expand and scale activity of our export promotion office to all entrepreneurs in Ukraine, and trying to provide them with possibility to train to improve their skill in negotiating with, let's say, international type business, both domestically and then for export. And we have really successful initiative of our Ministry of Digital Transformation. It's called DIA Action. So this is an app and ecosystem in the digital ecosystem, which provides a lot of facilities for small and medium enterprises. And we try to use this mass scale ecosystem, which with a lot of access to all small and medium and micro enterprises, to provide with them with trainings, with consultancy on how to organize their business activity in negotiating with international companies, both domestically and abroad as well. The second big topic where we believe the strategy is successful and we have a lot of successes, a lot of even successful trend in all type of certification of products or services of companies. So private certification, formal certification, a lot of successes are connected with this. Unfortunately, Ukrainian system, state system of quality assessment is still in course of transformation. But we have a lot of private actors here in Ukraine providing a lot of certification services, and we encourage small and medium business to make their product more understandable for international players, and it actually quite successful. And last but not least, we have quite specific and complex area where we have some successes and some failures. This is the area of financial transparency and financial predictability. As you know, Ukraine may know that Ukraine is quite famous with its simplified taxation system, which provide for small and micro business with quite attractive taxation system. And this is good news, but the backside of this coin is the fact that small and medium enterprises, and especially micro enterprises, are far from financial transparency, which is necessary for attracting investments. And we saw it and faced it with this program of affordable credits, which was organized by government, that the biggest problem, the biggest challenge with allocation of this credit was not on the side of the government or banks, but on the side of small and medium enterprises, because they, at the first stage, they had problems with presenting the financial results of their activities in previous periods, business plans, and other elements which are necessary in order to issue credit. So that even if credit with zero or with really small interest rate, it needs to be approved by credit committee of bank, and therefore you need to provide proper documentation. And unfortunately, we still need to invest a lot in advocating that this financial transparency, proper accounting, proper corporate governance structure is important, because it creates a lot of opportunity on attracting finances in terms of credit or investments. And here we are trying both to improve requirements, statutory requirements on finances, and once again train and encourage small and micro enterprise to be, let's say, financially clear or financially understandable for a bigger world of investment and credit. So these are the strategies and these are the directions of our activity on how to improve attractivity of small and medium enterprise and their products for bigger economy engine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kachkin. It's precisely what our discussion is aimed at, seeking sustainable and innovative solutions while adapting to the circumstances of the new normal. Now, Ms. Margarian, we know that you have expertise in capacity building activities. Could you please share your opinion on the opportunities of upskilling and training activities to foster entrepreneurship and job creation to support the recovery efforts?
Thank you very much for the question. We know that currently some industries have suffered more than others. There are people that lost their jobs. For Armenia, it's also complicated by the inability of people to live for migrant temporary jobs, as they did last year, for example. So actually, we see entrepreneurship as an alternative for education and recovery. We think that people are closer to new realities and spot new opportunities easier. That's also leading the market to cover the existing demand. So they come up with ideas, they know what people want, they're closer to customers. And we consider that this potential has to be transformed into actual businesses. But of course, idea is one thing, and skills and competencies and capacity to transform an idea into successful business is another thing. And we currently give a lot of attention to capacity building, to upskilling, to training. Our approach is to give people knowledge, to try to build some understanding and attitude towards entrepreneurship so that they can take their ideas, test their ideas, understand if the idea is viable, and if it is, on the next stage, we help them to realize the idea. But when we speak about upskilling, I think that only training is not enough, because only when skills meet the experience or knowledge meets the experience, we can call it later skills and ability. So our capacity building projects are built in the logic that, first of all, people come in and they try to understand what's entrepreneurship, how to approach challenges, how to create viable business model, and what skills and approaches and what steps and actions are needed there. On the second part, we help them to create those business models, business plans, to pitch their ideas to potential financial sources. And on the third stage, we already help them realize their viable business ideas. And that's where they have our support every step of the way, at every challenge they meet, at every question they have. So when you help these people to realize their potential during, for example, 1 year of acceleration, that's where you can probably announce that you have built the capacity of entrepreneurs. And in our current project that we have, we target regions of Armenia where again, coming back to women and youth, are currently the most vulnerable part of the population. And to our greatest surprise, 70% of our applicants are young, and they're very enthusiastic and very innovative. And I think that every kind of training activity gives added value to population. But if you want it to be transformed into a sustainable business, into new employment opportunities, that's where you have to do an extra step to help with the acceleration, coaching, and other processes.
Thank you, Ms. Margarian. Let me now follow up on that with Ms. Tomanic-Vidovic. Based on your expertise, how do you think we could strengthen the capacities of micro, small, and medium enterprises to prevent the brain drain trends among innovative youth in the region, considering the challenges posed by the pandemic?
Yes, well, innovative startups and young high-tech companies are often behind innovations that are important for economic growth in sectors such as 4.0 industry, nanotechnology, biotechnology, circular economy. And all these advanced technologies are the most important also for the recovery after the pandemic shock. But some global statistical data worldwide show us that since the beginning of the crisis, 74% of innovative startups and high-tech young companies have had to terminate full-time employees. 40% of them, they have some liquidity problems. And of course, 70% of them are facing with falling revenues. So it's true that we are facing a massive disruption in the market, also for the innovative young companies and young teams. There is a lot of uncertainty, but we must not be the victim of the situation, especially young innovative companies, which are very flexible. They have to look not only for the weakness and obstacles, but they have to find out also opposite side. They have to be the black swan among all others and use this uncertainty and to find the market niche also for their company, for their market, for their technology. But to achieve these technological shifts, they need right conditions for these challenges, right environment, which encourages creativity, innovations, which rewards differences and self-initiatives. So creation of such a support network for these high-tech companies, including startup and scale-up companies with partner institutions, have to be a model and a tool to facilitate innovative entrepreneurial spirit in any economic environment and to prevent the brain drain trends among youth. So each country has to strengthen partnership among policymakers, among other national support institutions, research institutions, educational institutions, investors, and of course with all these companies to encourage this innovative spirit. So close cooperation and exchange information and experience among public authorities, financial intermediaries, educational and research bodies is crucial to ensure right conditions. Also for these young teams, for these fast-growing, globally oriented companies. And it is useful also that countries for individual geographical and strategically linked regions connect among each other and find some synergy effects in supporting ecosystem. And through these synergy effects, also these young companies, startups and high-tech companies can start to cooperate much easier than without this support. So Slovenia has really very well established innovative entrepreneurial ecosystem, also with a network on international connections, and our government really try to facilitate all this leverage of knowledge, leverage of networking among institutions and among companies. And therefore we really try to be also in this time very supportive for the whole startup and scale-up ecosystem. For example, we created after the COVID started also very most digital-oriented program, Startup Plus, developed together with all partners. And this program includes and combines in one place key support, financial incentives in the form of some startup grants, convertible loans, seed capital, together with the private investors such as business angels and professional seed and venture funds. Also with some corporations, some bigger companies which try to invest back into these fast-growing companies. But along financial incentive, companies also receive a lot of specialized substantive programs, such as mentoring program, and mentors are the entrepreneurs with already existing experiences, some accelerator learning programs, startup cleaning program for cooperation with bigger companies, with multinational companies, and with private investors, and so on. So all these measures are important, and many activities are going on, and many activities can going on together also in the partnership with other countries in the region. So we can strengthen our measures, our energy, and try to connect also our companies and be even more competitive, because I think for the future only the united actions, only to work together, this will be the element for the success. Because we have to accept that nothing will be the same again, and nothing will be the same as it was before the pandemic. This is the fact, and the companies which will not accept this, they will definitely have some problems in the future too.
Thank you very much for that. I think we have addressed the most important issues related to the topic of today's session. I'm glad that we have finished on an important note of capacity building and inclusive support to micro, small and medium enterprises at all levels, placing a special emphasis on young companies. UNIDO, as a UN agency mandated to promote inclusive and sustainable industrial development, fully supports the efforts of governments and other development stakeholders in the facilitation of the digital transformation of micro, small and medium enterprises. In its work, UNIDO is prioritizing post-crisis recovery and transformation through a variety of services. I will name a few areas of UNIDO's activities in relation to the addresses of our speakers. As highlighted by Mr. Kaczka, it's crucial to support micro, small and medium enterprises in strengthening their growth potential and attracting investment. Indeed, these enterprises, which generally employ fewer than 250 employees, are the backbone of most economies worldwide and play a key role in developing countries. Taking this into account, UNIDO helps conduct country-level analysis and readiness assessments for technologies of the fourth industrial revolution, realizes upskilling and training programs, supports the promotion of clusters, networks, and export consortia, and provides direct assistance to micro, small, and medium enterprises with accessing global value chains. As noted by Ms. Angelova, innovation is often at the core of modern businesses that should be further harnessed by support mechanisms aiming at, among others, at creating an enabling environment for business development. UNIDO also believes that it is an imperative to enhance the digital resilience and competitiveness of the business sector, particularly of micro, small, and medium enterprises. Therefore, UNIDO promotes tailored programs assisting small businesses with digital transformation, helps to design e-commerce strategies, and encourages innovation. Ms. Margarian mentioned that intensified upskilling and educational efforts bring long-lasting and sustainable benefits. Capacity building programs are also key to tackling gaps in digital skills and underrepresentation of women in digital industries. In order to contribute to resolving these issues, UNIDO has been expanding its package of digital learning services, especially for women. Ms. Tomanic Vidovic talked about the issue of limited access to finance. Indeed, disruptions caused by the pandemic have hit micro, small, and medium enterprises hard, especially these operating in the informal economy. To address these challenges, UNIDO supports the development of strategies to reduce the gap between the formal and informal sectors, promoting and reducing costs of formalization of micro, small, and medium enterprises through digitalization and improving their access to finance and training. Against this backdrop, I would like to conclude that despite the existing bottlenecks, there are also many opportunities. We have learned that the aftermath of the crisis brings a unique momentum where everyone, especially entrepreneurs and micro, small, and medium enterprises, can harness converging technologies to support the creation of a more inclusive, resilient, and human-centered business environment. I feel very inspired by our speakers, their views and excellent ideas. I hope that this discussion has also resonated well with our audience. Please continue the conversation on our social media at GMIS Summit by using the hashtag #GMIS2020. Finally, let me say that it was a great pleasure to be with you today. I wish you to stay in good health and all the best. Once again, thank you very much to all of you.